The main issue with calisthenics circuits is balance. How can you create a circuit that builds muscle, strength, and endurance in equal parts all at the same time? First, a quick summary. A basic calisthenics circuit, as I like to do them at least, is made up of 4 to 5 different exercises, each focused on a different upper body movement pattern, those being the vertical push and pull, the horizontal push and pull, and some kind of ab exercise. Chin-ups, dips, inverted rows, pike push-ups, and the ab wheel rollout is a great example. Once you have your exercises, you'll decide on a rep scheme. That could be a 10 down, meaning 10 reps of each exercise, 9 of each, 8, and so on down to 1. It could be something smaller that's completed for rounds like a 5-3-2, 5 reps of each, 3 of each, 2 of each, and repeat, or any number of different setups. Exercises selected, rep scheme in place. All you need to do is make it through the circuit as quickly as you can while maintaining proper form, and next time you attempt it, try to beat your time. If it took you 25 minutes in workout 1, you'll try to complete it in 24 minutes and 59 seconds or less in workout 2. The main problem with a setup like this, as I said before, is balance. 9.999 times out of 10, one exercise will be more difficult than the rest. You can get pretty close to balanced, but there will usually be one movement that slows you down. There are 2 schools of thought when it comes to dealing with this. 1. Set strict guidelines and force yourself to stick with them, even if those guidelines mean a circuit takes longer to complete. Or 2. Look at the big picture and do whatever you can to complete a circuit in less time. Both methods work, but in my opinion, the second option is superior. Using a 10 down setup with the circuit I mentioned before, chin-ups, dips, inverted rows, pike push-ups, and the ab wheel, the first school of thought says, I must do all 10 reps of the first exercise, then 10 of the second, and so on. Then I must do all 9 reps of exercise 1, 9 of exercise 2, all the way down to 1 rep of each exercise in that exact order. What usually ends up happening here is one thing holds everything else back. For many, it's the vertical pulling movement, the chin-ups. Because you've set such strict guidelines, saying I need to do all 10 chin-ups before I can move on, you end up spending much more time waiting around, standing there during your sets of chin-ups, trying to recover just enough strength to do another single rep, resting again and repeating the process for minutes on end, making the circuit take much longer to complete. Extended rest pause sets like that are great in isolation. Taking a single exercise way beyond ordinary failure is a great way to build muscle. But when thinking in terms of a circuit, the benefits you get come at the expense of benefits everywhere else, at the expense of the other 4 exercises. An effective circuit keeps the muscles involved with each movement right at the very edge of failure at all times. To do that, you need to maintain a steady pace. When you spend so much time on one movement, you end up with way too much rest between sets for the other movements, and you lose the muscle building effects that come with keeping those movements near or all the way at failure. It becomes a circuit that's all about chin-ups, where everything else is just filler junk volume. The second school of thought seeks to avoid this at all costs. Rather than hyper-focusing on 10 down as something set in stone, this approach looks at total reps. A 10 down is 55 reps. When the goal switches from completing a strict 10 down to completing 55 reps of each exercise as quickly as possible, the entire game changes. Now, rather than spending minutes rest pausing to complete a single set of one exercise, you'll simply go to failure and move on. Rather than 10 reps of each exercise, then 9 of each, 8 of each, all the way down to 1, this approach might have you doing 10 reps of each exercise, then rather than 9 reps straight through, you do 5 reps of each and 4 of each, splitting that set of 9 into 2 parts. The set of 8 might become 5 reps of each, 3 of each, and so on. This lets you use the 10 down rep scheme as a guideline, as something that keeps you dialed in and moving quickly, rather than something that slows you down. And just as a quick note, I've found thinking in terms of a segmented 10 down like this is faster than just doing, say, 5 reps of each exercise 11 times until you reach 55. More on that later. Okay, you might say, but with this approach, won't the other 4 exercises still suffer? If I have the strength to push those movements all the way for sets of 10, 9, 8, and so on, won't splitting them up into lower rep sets also take away from the muscle building effects? Not at all. What actually ends up happening is you make it to failure anyway, and you stay there for longer. I'll talk more about that in a sec, but first consider that training density is as much a driver of hypertrophy as anything else is. Density being the ratio between how many reps you do in a workout and how long it takes you to do them. If a circuit takes you 20 minutes to complete because one exercise holds you back, and you have to spend all this time resting between reps, the density of the workout will be lower than if you hadn't spent that time resting. Even if you're somehow able to take the other other 4 movements all the way near failure with each individual set of 10, 9, 8, and so on, the training density will still be lower than it would be without the added rest time. 55 dips in 10 minutes is a significant improvement over 55 dips in 20 minutes. It's a very different stimulus. If you can get through the circuit faster, you can grow just from increased training density, regardless of how far you took each standalone set. Now the real secret behind the thing: intra-set rest and effective reps. If you stick with the first school of thought, the time between when you do an exercise and when you return to it will be much longer. Using the same circuit I outlined before, let's say you did a set of 10 dips and felt like maybe you were kind of near failure, which for most won't actually be the case. Failure would still be way far off, but just for the sake of argument, let's say that set did get you close to failure. Using the School 1 approach, it might be 4 to 5 minutes before you do your second set of dips, because it will take so long for you to complete your ultra rest pause set of chin-ups. By that point, you'll be back completely near baseline for the muscles involved with dips. It's possible that set of 9 might get you close to failure again because it's your second set of the day. You might even manage to get close to failure with your third set of 8, but eventually it's just not going to happen. With so much rest time, most of your sets will end up being submaximal. It doesn't matter how much work you've done previously. If you rest for 5 minutes between sets, a set of 6 or 5 or fewer is never going to get you even remotely close to failure. Like I said earlier in the video, using this approach, you'll essentially be doing some good hard sets of chin-ups with a bunch of junk volume thrown in for the other exercises. This, in my opinion, is a huge missed opportunity. Enter School of Thought 2. Using this fast-paced, never stop to rest pause, never stop moving approach, the rest time between sets of dips will remain very low. This is the whole point of circuit training, the reason the whole thing works. Rather than 10 separated individual sets with many minutes rest between each one like you'd get with the School 1 approach, School 2 turns the circuit into what is essentially one long never-ending set. Rather than fading away, the fatigue continues to build and compound. Set of 10, set of 5 a minute later, set of 4 a minute later, set of 5 a minute later again, and so on. Paired with the added fatigue and overlap you get from the other movements, dips and pike push-ups overlap, as do chin-ups and rows, you'll reach the point where every single set of every single exercise pushes you to your limit. Using this approach, a basic set of 5 really can be a set to failure. It's widely accepted that the most important reps in any set are the last few, the ones where you have to push with everything you have. These are what cause the most significant changes to strength and muscle. They're known as effective reps. Setting up your circuit using the second approach lets you accumulate a lot of effective reps for every exercise. The first approach means you only ever really get effective reps for the one weak point exercise. To me, this is a clear win. If all of this sounds complicated and it seems like it would be annoying to keep track of everything like that, thinking of a set of 9 as a set of 5 and a set of 4, it doesn't need to be. This is why when I recommend these circuits, I always say it comes down to your strength level. If you have the strength to push through each exercise using a true 10 down approach, then awesome, do it. But if you find you need to split almost every set up into multiple parts, you can change the rep scheme, and the possibilities are endless. Rather than a 10 down, 55 reps per exercise, you might use lower reps and go for rounds. A 5-3-2 setup, 5 reps of each exercise, 3 of each and 2 of each is 10 reps for each exercise. Going for 5 or 6 rounds would get you to the same place as a 10 down. It's the exact same thing, you just organized it in a different way, and most likely greatly improved your training density. A 5 down, 5-4-3-2-1 is 15 reps. Do 3 or 4 rounds of that and you're in the same place again. A 6-5-4 is also 15 reps and can be done for rounds. I find a lot of joy in discovering new combinations. Maybe you will too. A favorite of mine lately has been the 6-2, 6-5-4-3-2, which is 20 reps done for rounds. The main thing to look for in a rep scheme is progression. You'll want to set up your circuit so it always feels like you're making some kind of progress. Sure, you could just do 11 sets of 5 reps straight through, but a setup like that never feels as much like you're actually making it somewhere, like you're closer to your goal with every round, and that will slow you down a lot more than you might expect. It can work, and some of you might even prefer that approach, but in my experience, having some variety, having clear checkpoints along the way makes a huge difference. Using a 5-3-2 setup, you complete your first round and think, only 4 more rounds to go. You complete the second round and think, okay, only 3 more sets of 5 for the most challenging exercise. We're getting closer. 3 rounds complete and only 2 remain. 1 more round until the final round, and then, okay, just 1 more time through, and so on. Any combination can work. Calisthenics circuits can be anything. The trick is finding the perfect setup that works for you and lets you get the most amount of work done in the least amount of time. How many reps can you realistically do in a set? How many can you do when you're already near your limit? If you set the bar too high, trying for sets of 10 when your max is closer to 6 for example, you'll end up wasting time resting between reps, losing out on those training density gains. Set too low, say only doing sets of 1 or 2 when you know you could do at least 5, and you'll end up wasting a lot of time moving from one exercise to another, which will also make a circuit take longer. Keep pushing until you've found the highest number of reps you can do in a set without needing to rest. That's where you'll find balance. That's where everything comes together. I encourage everyone to at least give the second school of thought a try. The increased pace means more effective reps for all exercises, not just the weakest one. Less time spent resting means more endurance gains, and more opportunities for improvement means your ceiling becomes significantly higher. When everything is balanced, you have 4 or 5 opportunities to get faster, rather than just 1. Dig deep, keep pushing, and muscle, strength, and endurance gains are guaranteed. If you found this video useful, consider checking out my book, Sandbag Hypertrophy, over on Amazon. It combines calisthenics circuits with heavy sandbag lifting to create a hybrid training system that's truly unique. Link below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.